What are we taking away from this one? They did ban out Zed, of course, and they've taken away a lot of the key champions. Lee Sin away from RNA. RNA is on Vi that time. Didn't go too badly for him, safe to say, but the bans coming in are very similar to what we saw before, exactly the same as game one so far. There's the Fizz ban.
Exactly, so that's one ban against NIP, and I wouldn't be surprised, Jason called a Shen ban as well, which I was gonna say either you ban the Shen away from NIP or you first pick it. An alternate, NIP didn't give them the chance, basically.
So it does mean that RNA gets his Aatrox in that jungle. That's where we assume it's going to go, of course. It could be Kerp has managed to pick it up in the meantime. So Ninjas in Pyjamas, what do they go with? Do they head for that AD carry support? Of course, Jarvan was going to be Maluna's jungler. It is kind of his standard base jungler that he tends to go with and tends to be one of those early picks. Jarvan
wouldn't surprise me. I think another Caitlyn potentially early wouldn't surprise me either. Maluno didn't seem that comfortable on Maokai. He had one of his off games. Meimer actually played quite well on Shen, which is one of the reasons they ended up banning it themselves.
Well, it is going to be Zyra, so which interestingly did work very well for Deficio. So you think of those ganks that came in the lane and they tried to catch on towards him. The simple disengage that he offers, the Stranglethorns as well, in the team fights, and certainly on the Baron and the Dragon, it's such a key spell.
And I think the reason they didn't necessarily pick Caitlyn there is Cretan isn't really a Caitlyn main or player. He's played much more Ezreal, Varus, and Vayne, as well as the Misfortune lately. Tells NIP that if they want the Caitlyn, they can pick it up later. And I think they eventually will. It's just the Zyra was a higher priority for them because it makes it very difficult for Alternate to dive onto them, and Alternate has had a lot of success lately with very heavy dive compositions.
Well, after the previous Misfortune game, we'll see whether Creaton does want to go with that one. As you mentioned, he was 200 CS behind, and they may just be trying to take that away from free.
It would be a smart thing as long as Cretan can play.
Blitzcrank.
Yeah, so Blitzcrank as well. Jay Reed picked it yesterday. Didn't actually work out for them in the end. He didn't land too many clutch hooks, but the pressure he can create early on the lanes is immense. And I think the value of that Caitlyn pick is not so much in what Alternate's going to do with it, but what Freeze isn't going to do with it, because he's no longer allowed to play it.
But Ninjas in Pyjamas, their scrim partner actually was Fnatic, so they're going to be well prepared for this game. They also played Alternate a couple of times, which is ironic since they are going to be up against some Twisted Fate getting locked in by Bjergsen. Interesting, we've not seen him playing it a great deal, but being locked in this early with Kassadin available is dangerous.
Yeah, most recent nerf to Twisted Fate, of course, his cards. He now only has 4 seconds to throw after he's locked it in, as opposed to the old kind of swinging scale you used to have on it. Haven't seen much of him this weekend at all. Yet, it does fit the Bjergsen way of being able to kind of take over for the whole team. Instead of just running around with Fizz, he gets to teleport around, but he's not necessarily as strong when he gets there. Once again, Elnor is going to have a chance to counterpick Bjergsen here.
See which way it goes. Vladimir worked very well for Kerp in the last game, so it wouldn't surprise me to see him stick with that one. Ari would be very mobile against Twisted Fate. Renekton being hovered over as well right now, and then that's actually going to get locked in. So Renekton for the top lane. It's going blind, of course, remember, because we're waiting to see what Ninjas in Pyjamas are going to use in that top lane.
Ari is the perfect pick for Pharrell and Lord right now. It gives him something he's very comfortable with because he picked it 8 times during the season, and also something he can definitely disrupt Twisted Fate with. That's very smart things.
So, final pick now. What would you pick? You're going to be against either a 2v1 lane, you could be pushing into it, and would they go for a 2v1 lane here? Because they're using the Twitch Zyra.
I feel like they can do either way. Twitch Zyra, I know that Lemon Nation has said Twitch should never lose a 2v2 lane because he feels like he's that strong in lane phase, but as the 2v1 lane, they as well have the potential to make a big play happen if they just land the roots and Twitch can then land all his shots on top. And yeah, I'm really wondering what Meimer's going to go for here, because without Shen, he doesn't have much success on hardly anything. He's 1 and 2 on Yorick in the year. He could use this to duplicate Twitch, but you're shaking your head.
His Yorick has not been good. It has not been
He hasn't had.
He got smashed and manhandled by Wicked on Aatrox. Renekton is a similar type of champion, I guess, in terms of bullying potential.
Yep.
Not convinced.
I believe you, but he didn't have much left. With Shen off the table, he hasn't had success with many other champions to begin with, and he's going up against a Renekton, which might have been his other, like, Renekton is the staple top laner. Like, when I have to play top lane, I play Renekton.
The irony is that Meimer actually does have a huge champion pool.
Then why doesn't he bring it out in the LCS?
I do not know. I do not know. Of course, he could have gone for Rise, but Rise in 3.10 has been effective. So didn't want to go for that. Now, Rise versus Renekton, probably not the wisest choice.
No.
I don't know. I just don't know. He plays the top lane Evelyn as well, actually. That's one of his most famous champions. So don't think it's going to pull that out.
Ready, though.
Not really going to be a great champion for him. So those are the champions, ladies and gentlemen. Have Alternate managed to steal a march in the picks and bans? I believe they may have. It is, of course, Ninjas in Pyjamas that are one game up, though, in Alternate. They have to try and turn this one around. Even through those picks and bans, I wasn't sure whether Aranea was looking too confident. He is certainly a player that will get very much down after a loss. So they're going to have to turn this one around. And Deficio and co, you saw them big size of relief at the end of that game. It wasn't like we saw EGSD jumping up, celebrating like crazy. It was just simply a, whew, we got away with that one.
Yeah, and I can just imagine the emotional swings that happened to the teams in that game, because we saw the jubilation, basically, of Alternate after they thought they'd came back, and then to just all come crashing down again.
Yeah.
How are they going to come into this game? Because we know that they are that emotional team.
Well, if you have just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, we are already one game in. It was a 55-minute epic back and forth, inhibitors going down both sides of the map. And it was Ninjas in Pyjamas that finally came out on top. This is the 5th place playoff position for the Season 4 Spring Split. And of course, the loser will be into the promotion tournament, which will be happening later in the year. Currently, Copenhagen Wolves and TCM are the contenders, the challengers in that tournament. And of course, we've already seen SK Gaming and Meet Your Maker slipping down there. Who will be joining them? Will Alternate...
He doesn't have gold.
There it is. Does pulls out the gold card, but you can see Bjergsen going to get caught straight out here. Has to flash away. The hook was coming in. Split second behind.
That was very strange by NIP. They showed themselves to stun only to flash away over the wall. Why show yourself? Just run back around through their own jungle. I suppose they didn't want to get cut off because he did stun Blitzcrank so that he couldn't get pulled before the flash, but that is a lot of, that's a lot of stuff burned. Maluno and Bjergsen both going down flashes for really no real investment for Alternate.
And that surely means that Maluno's not going to be pushing too much in that mid lane against Pharrell Lord, and Bjergsen, without that flash, he is in danger of Aranea coming back towards him in that lane. Of course, Jay Ree, he could just pull the blue buff across here, and I believe that's what they're looking to do, and I'm pretty sure Alternate are aware of that.
Yeah, Alternate should see this one coming as well and just run away this time. That's what you get to do with Blitzcrank, is you get to bully people early on in the game. I'm a little bit surprised NIP didn't actually just wait in one of those bushes and try to land a Zyra route across the whole team as they came in. Instead, they just decided to give all the ground to Blitzcrank.
And Alternate were very quick there, and whether NIP was simply caught out of position, weren't prepared to get there. They got some great ward coverage here of the jungle of NIP. They have one at the red and at the blue, of course. Kerp is teleporting back, so he's going to be heading off back towards that top lane. Ninjas in Pyjamas will be starting off on that red buff. That's when Maloon's going to pick that up. He's going to have to try and go straight across towards Alternate's jungle, but they're going to be prepared for this. Let's see which route Aranea takes.
It's funny, Aranea should actually, he could just run straight to his blue buff because he knows that Maluno is going to go there right next. There's not a 2v1 lane disparity anywhere to actually stop someone from harassing, but yeah, Kerp is going to be helping him out here, and effectively, it could just become a bit of a dance around this blue buff if all the laners decide to go in. Yeah,
Yorick coming in, he's going to throw the ghouls at that bush, and he's going to catch out on Kerp and Aranea, but they may well go aggressive and turn this one round. You see, also coming up the river was Bjergsen, so he's here now, so it's a 3v2 situation to try and get and secure this blue buff. Smite is available for Aranea, but he's wisely just gone back to the red buff.
Yeah, I really wonder what his overall plan was there. He knows he has no health potions, so he's going to be lower than Maluno when that happens. And unless he thought his laners were going to be stronger when they all collapse down, he should have just taken his red buff, because that effectively wastes all of the early advantages that J-Reed took by putting the wards in the red and the blue buff, and just gives the double buff to Maluno. Now, Kerp's in danger of getting ganked.
He's going to have to use that flash burnt out as Maluno comes sliding in. He'd have to mash his standard Dragon Strike combo. And again, that's another flash burn, but this time it is one of Alternate's, of course. Remember, Maluno's and Bjergsen's are still down, so whether we see Aranea paying a visit there, which he is hanging around in that middle river at the moment. Remember, Bjergsen has no escape here. He is going to go in, he catches on towards it. Bjergsen pulls out the stun card. The charm came out, but he's already very low. And wow, Aranea just chops him down. No assist for Pharrell Lord.
But that's still exactly what Alternate needed. Pharrell Lord would have been well served to get that 200 gold worth of assist, but it was a good punish nonetheless by RNA. He really needed to get back in the game from that. After losing out essentially in the quick little buff dance, getting the kill pulls him right back.
And he had exhaust. He just didn't use it on RNA. I guess he just wasn't expecting that burst.
Yeah, he was going to die regardless, I feel like, because when he ended up dying to RNA, Ferelnord would have also just reached range to attack him. And in fact, by not using the exhaust, in a way, he denied Ferelnord 200 gold.
Maybe
Not intentionally, but he did.
We'll see how that works out. We also want to keep our eye on this bottom lane. Freeze, so far, is behind on CS to Creaton. We'll see how that sticks around. Of course, Twitch versus Caitlyn, very different this time around. And Bjergsen once again gets engaged upon. This time the Dark Fight not landed. The stun comes out. He has got that exhaust available, but again, dodges out of the chart, but the ball's come back. And Ferelnord picks himself up a kill this time.
Ferelnord's angry this game. He got shut down by Bjergsen in the game before, and this time, with the Twisted Fate pick, it's not like he can take much action in the lane against Ferelnord, specifically when he burned his flash at level 1. It was just more trouble from there.
Well, Maluno nearly getting caught out there. RNA are paying yet another visit, proving why this Aatrox was banned away from him. That is a big stack of minions putting pressure on towards that mid lane for Ferelnord. Look at him in that seat. How relaxed does he look playing this game?
And if Maluno wants to think about getting experience in that lane, he's risking dying, which is why Ferelnord's positioning in nice little react long arm stance is good, because he's in a good place right now in this game.
He's in a very good place. Kerp in this top lane against Mima is actually not doing a bad job. They're pretty even on terms of CS, and kind of expect that for now. We'll see how it develops as the game progresses. Freeze just tipping ahead in terms of CS. Of course, that's simply because he's just pushed the lane back on Creaton. Creaton going back to buy, gets himself a Vampiric Scepter starter item.
So we'll see how this lane goes this time for Creaton and Freeze, because that was a big reason Alternate fell behind in the last game. Freeze's Caitlyn was 101 to 55 up, Caitlyn versus MF. This time, since Creaton is controlling the Caitlyn, it's actually even. Freeze is playing this matchup quite well with Twitch.
So we'll keep our eye on RNA. He's got that kill and assist. He's just about to go back and buy. I guess it's going to be a fairly standard item. Actually, because he's gone different. He's gone normally double Dorans on that Aatrox as the jungler, but this time he's got the boots of mobility already.
Yeah. So I think the reason he did this is he generally does go boots of mobility, but it's a little later. Because he got that early kill and he knows how hard he's been able to punish Bjergsen, anytime you get a bit of an edge on a jungler, you can always kind of roll the dice and say you're going mobility boots. Since you are stronger than the other jungler already, you can sacrifice some of that fight strength to get around more and just make more ganks happen.
And looking at Ninja Pyjamas, they've just had, the four of them had
Here
wards.
it comes.
They'd realize how much they could get punished by RNA, and Freeze and
Deficio has no flash. If they get anything on him, he's dead.
He's going to lay a plan down. He's just going to face check straight in there. He gets slammed on down there. The hook doesn't find his target, but it doesn't matter. There's enough damage coming out towards Deficio. He's going to go down. It's RNA that picks up the kill. Maluno, though, he's coming around in reaction. I'm not sure they've got the damage on this one. They have a very good slow. Jamie's going to get caught out. It's actually going to be RNA. RNA gets focused down. That's a shutdown bonus for Maluno.
That was a nice attack by Freeze. Even though it was a 3v1 gank, it was a little sloppy for Alternate. They didn't land the slow on him, the hook missed, RNA didn't get the knock up with his Q, and it delayed the kill long enough that Maluno could come down, and Freeze was putting damage on Alternate the entire time, which allowed Maluno in the end to pick up a return kill.
I feel if Ferelnord had landed those last strike with the orbs, he could well have flash ignited there, and that would have been Bjergsen going down. Would have escaped it. Now we're going to see the Cataclysm on towards Jay Reed. The exhaust goes down, but Freeze is close enough to put the damage down. Mana Shield is about to pop. It's already gone down. Jay Reed will pay for it with his life. And Maluno, the Pilt over Peacemaker from Creaton. Aatrox is coming back in there. RNA should be able to close him down, but Freeze quickly manages to stealth up and get away. Deficio, timely back in lane, lays down the plants and they back off.
Very aggressive moves there by Maluno, but he's picked up both of those kills. I'm sure NIP would have loved to have it on Freeze. Bjergsen extending this fight even longer.
Bjergsen going down there, throws out the wildcard, gets the stun on towards RNA, but missed with the wildcards, and that means that RNA will get away. But look at the dirty farming in the top lane. Kerp is in between the inner and inhibitor turret.
Yeah, that's
this is Macnoon all over again.
It's an interesting spot to find on the map. York not able to push him out of that area. And Maluno, since he spent so much time bottom lane, especially with Bjergsen using his ultimate, there's no reason for him to leave. he's just going to clean up every minion and keep York completely in his turret.
Bjergsen coming in towards the mid lane, trying to catch on towards Forellenlord. Maluno was pushing out, but instead does not find him. Where's Kerp going to go? He's going to go straight head to head with Maluno. He's got Yorick coming down. Mimer's going to join this fight, and now Maluno's in trouble. Instead, he backs away, and Kerp is not going to go aggressive.
It's a good thing Jarvan came up for the red buff there, but Kerp is just going to try to be as annoying as possible here. He's taking on 2 people right now, forcing the smite, and he's just going for some kills.
He just pops the Dominus and goes full on aggression there, knowing that Mimer can do nothing against him here. He just continues the damage. Mimer's in trouble here. He's trying to get back to the turret. I'm not sure whether he's going to make it. Kerp's still putting the damage down. He can get another slice and dice in towards him. Tries to get the slowdown. Can he turn this one around? No, he can't. Kerp picks up a great kill.
I don't know what Mimer was doing over there. They cannot deal with this Renekton right now for Kerp. He basically 1v2'd. Little bit of trouble.
Called it.
I didn't say that you were wrong with that York pick.
No, absolutely. I have no faith in Mimer's Yorick pick, I'm afraid, in the LCS. He may well be able to pull it off in solo queue, but here in the LCS, players know how to deal with it. Sunfire Cape almost ready for Kerp as well. Now we are seeing that, Bjergsen's going to get charmed up, and Forellenlord dives in there. Spirit Rush gets used. He gets away so low, but Forellenlord with the Ignite does get the kill on Bjergsen.
And it seemed like a very timely exhaust when Bjergsen put it on Forellenlord, but it wasn't quite enough because the Ignite was able to tick through it. That just is a very difficult lane for Bjergsen, and he's not going to be able to get much help just because Mimer is done for in that top lane, and Maluno has been putting a lot of time into Freeze.
So Aranea backs off. He's been successful with his gank so far, but he goes back and by. Sunfire Cape almost ready for Kerp as well. He's back in that lane against Mimer. And Mimer, I don't understand why he's coming out of the lane now. He's already proven he's just been taken down on the turret. He's still trying to put some pressure down. He has just gone back and got himself that tier. But really, it's simply armor stacking right now for him.
Yeah, he's just surviving and trying to farm as much as possible. And since his lane is pushed up in the top lane, that's why he was pushing out. Kerp wasn't going to fight him on top of all those minions. He's basically trying to avoid what happened to him a couple minutes ago, where if he keeps the lane up, then Kerp can't get past him to do that in-between turret farming that ended up creating all the disaster.
Forellenlord, Spirit Rush once again used on towards Bjergsen, throws out the balls, hasn't used the charm yet actually. Spirit Rush once again, there's the charm, perfectly timed as the yellow card was pulled.
Oh dear, that Ahri's going to be getting out of hand at some point. At least Bjergsen's stopping him from roaming, in a sense, going to the bottom lanes because he's just dying in mid lane over and over again. Forellenlord is going to be a problem.
At 0-4 on Bjergsen. Compare that to the last game on Fizz, it's very different. And Aranea, look at this, he's already started off the Dragon. Ninja Pyjamas cannot even contest this one, not even close to it. Alternate will take this one, a well-earned Dragon.
Yeah, this looks to be Alternate taking absolute control of the map. I mean, we were wondering how they're going to recover from that disaster they had near the end of last game. Turns out pretty well. The pick and ban phase for one was fantastic for them so far, and then their execution specifically in the mid lane has been fantastic.
Absolutely. So as it stands, Kerp once again dirty farming between the lanes, keeping Mimer in all sorts of trouble. And look at the CS difference that's starting to gather there. It is a huge differential in that top lane.
Yeah, 111 to 65, and now Maluno's actually coming around the bottom lane, gonna be going potentially for a fight. Oh, he's just going in. J-Re extremely low right there. Freeze finishes him off, and Forellenlord goes in the mid lane as well. Bjergsen can't necessarily get that card locked in time. He is in just absolute chaos amounts of trouble. Oh! Bjergsen also taken incredibly low here. Forellenlord well in the mid lane.
Close stuff. As it is, Kerp is keeping the pressure on Mimer in that top lane. He has managed to take that turret almost down because he just keeps pushing the minions in there, and Mimer's having a problem just clearing them out quick enough because he just continues cutting through those lanes, farming it out. Mimer doing what he can to keep him away. Creaton, meanwhile, in that bottom lane, of course. He's building up the CS, but he has no advantage over Freeze, and Freeze, well, he went for that triple Doran's Blade build. Yeah,
Freeze is definitely going for a little bit of early game pressure right here. You can see triple Doran's plus the Bilgewater Cutlass have already been taken down here. He's going to be going for that Blade of the Ruined King, and he really just needs enough power to take on Krypton 1v1 because everything else is going wrong.
This is going to be a 2v2, and it's going to be Curb diving down towards Pyjamas, and Aaron comes in, gets that Dark Flight down. Pyjamas going so low. He does manage to get the ultimate off there, Mimer, but Aaron is going to walk away from this one. Curb at the moment locked up, taken down. He tries to turn on towards Deficio. That dominance still ticking. He's doing a lot of damage, but he will finally get taken down by Bjergsen.
And thank goodness they were able to take him down at this point. He was dominating that lane so incredibly hard. All of NIP just decided to just pile up to that top lane and take him down, and he didn't actually have a huge shutdown bonus, so the gold recovered by NIP isn't that great, but it should shut him down a little bit and at least give Mimer a slight amount of time to recover for this one. Across the other parts of the board here, you can see the rest of Ultimate still pushing up because they're not wanting to let that kill go to waste. Pharrell and Lord still dominating, Curb still dominating. Krypton's really the only person in lane so far that hasn't completely taken over, as Freeze has held on pretty well.
And Jerry lays in wait down that bottom lane. You can see that Freeze was looking at coming down there. He doesn't want to walk into that hook. There's pings on towards him. A lot of pings in that bottom lane actually. They're covering out the blue buff. You do see J-Reed coming up here, and he's not going to try and go, I'm not going to contest. Pharrell Lord was close enough, but not just in time.
I'm actually surprised that they're still even giving Bjergsen blue buff with how much he's dying to Pharrell Lord at these points. Like, Pharrell Lord seems to be able to kill him at will, and almost giving it to Maluno would allow him to help out maybe a little bit more. They're running a real risk here of just actually getting that blue buff for Pharrell Lord.
So Kraton almost got that Bloodthirster completed. Meanwhile, we do see Freeze going towards that build. What a goal is the hook coming out from J-Ree. Forces the flash away from Deficio there. That's not going to be available. We're closing in on 16 minutes so far, Jack. That one dragon picked up another charm on towards Bjergsen. Bjergsen this time still continued to be aggressive. Will land the stun. Spirit Rush comes out from Pharrell Lord. He goes aggressive. He goes on towards Bjergsen. Spirit Rush is away, and he's gone. He is out of there, but no. The flash from Maluno gives him the 500 gold shutdown bonus.
Huge amounts of gold to Paluno, but it doesn't go to Bjergsen yet again. And in a sense, NIP was able to get blue to Maluno anyway, because they did briefly give it to Pharrell and Lord, then it bounced back, and Maluno has to make things happen. They're just going right back for that buff though.
They want that buff straight back. It's going to be Aranea now, double stacked in there. Curb comes in again. Curb is an absolute terror. 60 CS advantage now built over Mimer.
And even though RNA has been the beneficiary of a couple of those kills over in the top lane, so much of that power is created by Curb. Let's see if RNA is able to hold on to that blue buff for longer than a few seconds.
Yeah, I mean, the advantage he's gained is the fact that he's not needed at the top lane now. Curb is just dominating it, so RNA is just like, well, in that case, I'll just babysit the middle and bottom lane, but then he thinks, well, I'm not even needed in the middle lane, because Bjergsen is getting dumped on from a great height by Pharrell Lord.
Yeah, this is one of those tough times in the jungle where both lanes are like, gank please, I need help. And you're like, you're just gonna die if I come to gank your lane, man. And then exactly the same thing happened when he went to gank mid because Bjergsen died again.
Words of a true jungler there, I believe. Yeah. I'm sure you maybe heard a few of those times with your wonderful AD carry you had in Dignitas. Oh, the hook actually not going to land. Deficio there, taken still very low. The charm comes out for Unload, but Aranea is the one that's going to drop it. He's got his passive available. The Bloodwell comes out there. Deficio does get taken down, does fire off his passive, but not in time. And now they're going to keep going on towards this one. Aranea, he's going to try and get away. The exhaust will be enough to buy the time. The power fist from J-Ree. Bjergsen's going to give chase. Bjergsen gets on towards Aranea. Now it's going to be a J-Ree trying to run away. Cataclysm comes out. He uses that mana shield. Is it going to be enough? Pulls in Mimer in towards the turret. Curb doing damage now. Curb could go for all of these here right now. Slice and dice across. Maluno's trying to get away from this one. Freeze is trying to kite him out. Curb will go down eventually. And what a fight. It was a 3-for-2. Eventually, NIP came out on top.
And Bjergsen got another one with the teleport at the end of that. This was a fight NIP took because Krypton wasn't even there. That's exactly what they need to at least start pulling themselves back in this game, catching them essentially in a long, chaotic fight. And by the way, the blue buff has been traded around all the way back to Bjergsen. How long is he going to have it? That's about the 5th time it's traded.
It is bouncing around the map. And well, while all that was happening, Freeze, Kraton in that bottom lane actually continued the farming. So he now has built himself a bit of a CS advantage over Freeze, but Freeze, he was picking up kills in the mid lane, so it doesn't matter because, well, his advantage is gained. But it was an objective taken down, and now Alternate are 4-1 up in turrets. They have done a great job because it was the inner turret he took out.
Yeah, getting that inner turret keeps the gold lead large for the most part. It's 6 1,000 still, and after a great turnaround fight by NIP, you would have expected it to close a little bit more. It definitely shows they need to have more great fights if they want to come back.
And Alternate, their wins, their best wins, their greatest matches came from chaotic play like this. This is how it works out for them, and it's how they seem to have just developed that solo queue mentality that obviously the team was effectively created from. It was created from the highest elo players in the Europe, which was Kerp and for Renelord. They were the original bases. I think it was, what, 3,000 elo, 2,950 for Kerp and 2,900 for Creaton, way back when elo mattered. But right now, of course, it doesn't. But
the league system.
The league system, of course. But what counted back then was the elo. And of course, when we saw them in Warsaw, the original qualifiers, we looked at them and it's like, that's a team of individuals. They came back in the summer qualifiers and suddenly it was a full-on team. They managed to get in, they created some great opportunities, and of course they topped the league for 6 weeks. Let's not forget that, because that's very important. Yeah. They came up against the very best Europe had to offer and they topped that league for 6 weeks. So it's no surprise that they can turn this game around. They have a big gold advantage, they have a big tower advantage, they have the kill advantage. Can they turn it into a win? It is a best of 3, they have to take another 2 games.
And they have a big enough lead to be able to take this one right now. We've seen them in this position before, in a sense. Neither of these teams have been able to close games when they have an advantage, which is how they've ended up in this promotion game. These teams haven't even been able to hold it for Alternate when they had an advantage in the league overall, as you said, top of the league for 6 weeks, and then are kind of losing it. So they are inconsistent in a larger scale, as well as individually in the games. And now with Freeze pushing the bot lane, they're almost dared into diving or just giving up some of that global gold back.
Kerp is now nearly 100 CS ahead of Mima. He's nearly hit 200 before Mima hits 100. That's not good in lane.
No, it's not good in any sense of the word. The thing is, this is almost what NIP did to Alternate in the last game, in the sense that Freeze was that far ahead of Creaton, but this time it's the other way with Mimir ahead of Kerp. NIP might be looking for a fight here. They're really posturing, trying to defend this turret, but once again, this is a dangerous turret to hold. There's a couple divers are looking for trouble.
It's going to be the hook. It's Maluna gets pulled in there. They dive straight on top of him. Are they going to have enough damage? He slides away. Kerp goes aggressive, and he does manage to take him down. Paul's back in there. Tower dropped as well. So NIP, if they chase on this one, they have no tower support, and you can see the stun card not going to come in there. Franel gets the charm up towards Bjergsen. He survives out of that Deathfire grasp. Meanwhile, at the back, they went a little too deep. And Alternate, well, they force NIP back once again.
Yeah, and the timing on that death from Maluna was very unfortunate. He had the Yorick ult on him as he was trying to Cataclysm, but he died pretty much mid-flight. So he revived, lost his cooldown, but never got the Cataclysm to actually generate, which is what NIP would have needed to stick around and maybe actually turn a couple kills back on that fight. But as it was, they lose the turret and 1 kill.
So, Ninjas in Pyjamas really pressed up against it now. 6-2 in turrets. All those outer and inner turrets are down, and Alternate now have the option. Oh, look at this. Aranea with that ward down. He wants to go for this one. Bjergsen just trying to buy his time, but instead he's forced away by Maluna's presence.
Definitely seems like NIP is trying to stick around, but the goal lead is not, it's not participating right now. It's not helping them out because they're not able to farm. Mimir was so ridiculously shut down by Kerp. Pharrell Lord can kill Bjergsen by looking at him, and really it's all going to come down to Freeze.
Just a sharp glance and he drops down straight away. Kerp though, I mean, he is a brick wall. He's got that Randian Zone and Sunfire Cape. Now he's also building a bit of magic resist in there with that Negatrons and the Mercury Treads. Doesn't want to get locked down, doesn't want to get dealt with. Bjergsen's stun cards are not going to do a great deal against him. So I really don't know who's actually going to be able to kill him. They're going to have to completely focus him or just simply ignore him, in which case the rest of the team will be the focus. Brennan with so much damage. Towards Maluna. That's not what they needed. And now Bjergsen throws out that stun collar curve, just as I mentioned. But as I said, he's so tanky. Maluna's shadow being used there effectively. That's going to get dropped as well. So the ultimate BU news from Mimir, that omen of death is just not going to help them out.
Too many slows landing on him there, which allowed the hook to come down. And NIP actually needs long and drawn out fights, which don't happen when someone gets hooked in beforehand. Those are the quick, decisive, you lose fights. Another charm.
The charm on towards Mimir. Is it going to be enough? The build server comes in. And the hook on Freeze pulls in the rat. And he had no chance now. Deficio, he's going to get focused on. This could be a very quick finish for Alternate here. They are just wrecking. And that is a triple kill from the highest KDA man.
The timing on these kills could actually be enough for Alternate to maybe end the game. These death timers are 20 seconds. Maluna is the only defender. We're showing the replay, but they might actually think about going for some Nexus turrets as they get the hook that started this fight.
Yeah, they managed to get in. Of course, that was the damage they did. They are on the Nexus turrets. That's what we want to focus on, because Alternate could well push on straight through here. Ninjas in Pyjamas, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything about it. Maluno's the last man standing, and Alternate in 24 minutes are going to take down the Ninjas in Pyjamas. What a crazy, crazy turnaround game. That is what you call a confidence kick.
Wow. We knew they were winning by a bit, but the timing and the cleanness with which they picked up all of those kills at the end allowed them to just rush the Nexus for the fastest game we've had in this tournament.
Absolutely fantastic turnaround. Ninjas in Pyjamas, they're going to have to be thinking, what the hell just happened, guys? We had a rough, close game in game one, which they did take, and it of course means we are going to be going to a 3-game series. Wow. Pressure very much on both of these teams.
That just, we knew there was a lot of pressure on them before. These guys